Ever wondered why it seems so difficult to learn from our mistakes, or why organizations struggle to implement lessons they've supposedly learned? Let's dive into this intriguing conundrum. When we think about learning lessons, our minds often veer towards a simple cause and effect scenario. We did something, it didn't pan out as we'd hoped, so we decide not to repeat that course of action. The expectation is straightforward: learn from the misstep and change your behavior accordingly. This is where we encounter the first expectation of learning a lesson: cause and effect recognition. We're wired to make these connections. I did X and Y happened. I don't want Y to happen again, so I should avoid doing X. It's a simple logical equation that we're all familiar with. Then comes the expectation of behavioral change. Once we've identified the cause of a mishap, we assume that we, or any other rational being, wouldn't repeat it. The lesson learned should prevent the recurrence of an undesired outcome. We also tend to focus on tangible, observable outcomes. For many of us, the proof of having learned a lesson lies in changed behavior and improved results. It's all about what's visible, what's measurable. Simplicity and pragmatism often guide our approach to learning. If a certain action leads to negative consequences, the logical step is to alter or avoid that action in the future. We seek straightforward solutions to our problems. Finally, there's the element of external accountability. Once we've recognized our mistake and claim to have learned from it, others expect us not to repeat the same error. This external accountability strengthens the link between recognition and behavioral change. So it's clear that we expect learning to result in tangible, observable change. But is this expectation realistic? And does it capture the complexity of genuine learning? As we'll see, the process of learning from our mistakes, whether as individuals or organizations, is often far from straightforward. The reality of learning lessons is often more complex than we initially assume. It's not just about recognizing cause and effect relationships or avoiding repeat mistakes. It's far more nuanced, involving a blend of observable behavior changes, improved outcomes, and the internalization of new knowledge. Let's start by considering behavioral changes. Genuine learning triggers a consistent shift in our actions. As individuals, this might mean we consistently sidestep an error we once made regularly. In the context of an organization, this could translate to a modification in standard operating procedures or the creation of new protocols. However, change isn't just about actions, it's also about results. True learning should lead to improved outcomes, whether that be fewer mistakes, enhanced efficiency, increased profitability, or any other metric that signifies a positive divergence from past performance. But perhaps one of the most critical aspects of learning is the internalization of new knowledge. For us as individuals, this means being able to articulate what we've learned and how it influences our decision-making process. For an organization, this might be evident in training materials, company literature, or strategic planning documents. There's also the need for proactive measures. Rather than merely reacting to problems, a learned individual or organization will proactively implement strategies to prevent potential issues. This forward-thinking approach is a key indicator of authentic learning. And let's not forget the importance of receptive feedback mechanisms. An entity that has truly learned will establish ways to receive and act on feedback. This could be through performance reviews, customer feedback systems, or other feedback loops. Furthermore, genuine learning impels consistent application across varied contexts. It's not enough to apply what we've learned in the same scenario. We should be able to generalize and apply the learned lesson in a variety of situations. Finally, there's the aspect of reduced external oversight. As we learn, we should require less external monitoring or intervention to ensure correct behavior. It's clear that the process of learning is more multifaceted than many of us realize. But how does this play out in real-world scenarios? Consider the case of a major corporation that suffered a significant financial setback due to a flawed business strategy. This corporation, let's call it CorpEx, had invested heavily in a new product line, confident it would be a market game changer. Unfortunately, the market disagreed, leaving CorpEx with a costly flop on its hands. Initially, CorpEx seemed to be stuck in a cycle of denial and blame. The leadership blamed the marketing team for not effectively selling the product. The marketing team blamed the product development team for not creating a product the market wanted. The product development team blamed the market research team for providing inaccurate data. The blame game was endless, and no lessons seemed to be learned. However, after a period of turmoil, CorpEx decided to bring in fresh leadership. The new CEO, Jane Doe, decided to take a different approach. She recognized that the failure was not solely due to one department or another, but was the result of systemic issues within the organization. The real lesson to be learned was not about finger-pointing, but about improving the company's overall strategy and approach to product development and launch. Jane initiated a company-wide introspection. She encouraged teams to analyze their mistakes openly, without fear of retribution. This process led to a deeper understanding of the flaws in their strategy, and more importantly, how to prevent them in the future. Jane also stressed the importance of open communication and collaboration between departments, breaking down the silos that had contributed to the product's failure. Over time, CorpEx began to see changes. The culture shifted from one of blame to one of learning and growth. The company started to make more informed decisions, leading to successful product launches and a significant improvement in their financial performance. Jane's leadership not only helped CorpEx recover from its financial setback, but also transformed it into a learning organization. Her approach demonstrated that learning lessons is not about assigning blame, but about fostering an environment that encourages growth, collaboration, and continuous improvement. This case study illustrates the complexity and depth of learning lessons, particularly in an organizational context. So how can we determine if an individual or organization has genuinely learned a lesson? Well, it's not as elusive as it might seem. The key indicators of genuine learning are often in plain sight, and they echo the points we've discussed earlier. Let's delve into them a bit more. First and foremost, we look for observable behavioral changes. These are the most direct indicators of learning. They might be as simple as an individual consistently avoiding a mistake they've previously made, or as complex as an organization overhauling standard operating procedures. In either case, the change aligns with the lesson learned. Improved outcomes are also a telltale sign of genuine learning. True learning should yield better results, whether that's fewer mistakes, improved efficiency, or increased profitability. Any positive shift from past performance is a good indicator that a lesson has been learned. Next, we look for the internalization of new knowledge. For individuals, this means they can articulate what was learned and how it impacts their decision-making. For organizations, it might show up in training materials, company literature, or strategic planning documents. Proactive measures are another hallmark of genuine learning. Learned individuals or organizations don't simply react to problems, they anticipate them and implement preventive measures. This forward-thinking approach is a strong indication of learning. Receptive feedback mechanisms are also a good sign. A learning entity will be open to feedback and will create mechanisms to receive and act on it. This could take the form of performance reviews, customer feedback systems, or other feedback loops. Consistent application across varied contexts is another key indicator. Learned lessons should be applied consistently, even in situations different from the original learning scenario. This shows the ability to generalize and apply the learned lesson in various situations. Lastly, a reduction in external oversight indicates genuine learning. An individual or organization that has truly learned should require less external monitoring or intervention to ensure correct behavior. It's not enough to simply claim to have learned a lesson. The proof lies in consistent, observable changes in behavior and outcomes. Learning lessons, it seems, is a more complex process than many of us realize. It's not just about recognizing cause and effect, but about embodying change, reinforcing knowledge, and applying it consistently across different situations. We've delved into the indicators of genuine learning, from observable behavioral change to improved outcomes. We've also touched upon the importance of internalizing new knowledge, implementing proactive measures, and establishing receptive feedback mechanisms. It's clear that real learning extends far beyond the surface level. It's about making an impact, driving evolution, and fostering growth. However, this isn't a walk in the park. The challenge of learning lessons lies in the fact that they often come packaged with adversity and discomfort. It's human nature to avoid discomfort, to sidestep adversity. But it's through these very experiences that our most valuable lessons are learned. For organizations, the challenge is even more complex. It's not just about one person learning a lesson, but about disseminating that learning throughout an entire system. This requires a concerted effort, a collective commitment, and often a shift in culture. It's about creating an environment where learning from mistakes is not only accepted but encouraged. Yet even when lessons are learned, the battle isn't over. Implementing these lessons is another challenge. It's one thing to know what should be done, it's another to actually do it. Consistency, as we've discussed, is a crucial indicator of genuine learning. Yet maintaining this consistency requires determination, discipline, and resilience. Lastly, the process of learning is continuous. Just when we think we have mastered a lesson, life has a way of presenting us with new challenges, new lessons to learn. This continuous cycle of learning and growing is what makes life an endless journey of discovery. So the next time you find yourself or your organization grappling with a difficult lesson, remember, real learning requires more than just recognition. It demands change. Embrace the challenge, for it is through these trials that we truly learn, grow, and evolve.